my name is Sandra Cleary and I'm the Home Economics teacher for Grinds 360. Today is just a short introduction to introduce you to the amazing subject that is Scientific and Social Home Economics for Leaving Cert 5th and 6th year. Now I just want to go through a few guidelines as to how I'm going to approach the course with you over the next 30 weeks. So first of all, we'll start with what is home economics all about. Now some of you probably have junior cert home economics, some may have 5th year home economics, some might be repeating Leaving Cert, or you might have never done home economics before. Either way, I'm going to cover all levels with regard to the content. We're going to start at the beginning. I always say to my students at the very beginning of the year, particularly those starting for the very first time, that when you look at the course content, which we're going to show you here in the home economics syllabus, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So we know that home economics is a very vast course. It does require comprehensive knowledge, but it's like any system. It can be broken down, and I'm going to break it down for you piece by piece, a bit like one of those mad jigsaws that you get thousands of pieces and you empty it out on the table. Where do I begin? We start building a few little pieces of jigsaw, and then the whole picture starts to begin to take place, and then voila, somewhere we hope around January we'll have that eureka moment and we will see the whole thing coming together. First and foremost though, I want to go through the home economics syllabus with you. Now once upon a time you could buy a hard copy of the home economics syllabus from the government offices there in Dublin, just off Nassau Street. Nowadays we're trying to mind the paper, be environmentally friendly, so you can go and look up whatever search engine you have and type in, as I have done here, home economics, scientific and social syllabus. Like I say, as you scroll through it initially, there's just general information regarding the course, which is home economics, scientific and social. Now you'll be glad to know that you do not need to know the whole syllabus in terms of we are getting some adjustments for Leaving Cert 2025, which we're most thankful for. Like I said earlier, it is a very large course. So I just want to be clear from the off what we're going to be covering. So it's both ordinary and higher level that are covered for Leaving Cert Home Economics. Now I just want to show you here the programme of study. So with regard to, there are three key areas. The first area being the food studies area. And this makes up 45% of the whole course. So we will be talking about food quite a bit. But what I do love about this subject is that it's very scientific. So if, for example, you are planning to do some science-based course in college next year, you might have thought about home economics, scientific and social. Most students will think about the biology, the chemistry, the physics, but we cover a lot of biochemistry on this course. Some of it, believe it or not, which is not on Leaving Cert chemistry course. Students always say to me that home economics helps biology, whereas biology not so much, because believe it or not we will be doing it in more detail, but certainly you will have a very good foundation for any science based course. Secondly, we have the resource management and consumer studies section, which we have here. Now there are 5 handouts which we'll cover, and there's a guaranteed question every year on this area. The third section then is what we call sociology, the core. Now this is the social studies section that we have here. So 3 components: food studies, resource management and consumer studies, and social studies, and they make up the main part of the paper. Now every year students are allowed to, shall we call it, specialise in an area, and up to COVID students had 3 choices on section C, and those 3 electives you can see here, and they're still on the paper, I might add. We have elective 1, which is home design and management. Elective 2, very few students around the country covered this section because it involves making a garment. And then we have section 3, which is social studies. Pretty much the choices that are made, half the students who sit Home Economics Leaving Cert study the Home Design and Management section, and the other half tend to study the Social Studies. Now, since COVID, we've had adjustments, as you're aware, to the Leaving Cert. So we're going to be looking at, throughout the course of our 30 weeks, we're going to be looking at what is referred to as question for the core. Now, it is exactly the same number of marks. It makes up 80 marks out of a total of 400 for Leaving Cert, and that equates to 20% of the Leaving Cert course. Now, what exactly does question for the core cover? It is an extension of these three areas over here: the food studies, resource management and consumer studies, and the social studies. Personally speaking, I have been teaching, as I say, for a very long time, and over 30 years, and I would say, you know, try and make life a little bit easier for yourself. My advice would be that I would focus on question for the core. It's possibly the last time we're going to see this question in Leaving Cert 2025, but it does mean that you do not have to take on any of these extra topics. And where we can cut back on content, you know, it is a choice. I think that would be advisable, particularly when you consider all of the other subjects that have to be studied. Plus, I'm a big fan of, you know, doing something well, rather than, I suppose, a smattering of everything and no in-depth knowledge of any one particular area. So with regard to the next few pages, you can read if you wish, but I personally would move on to page 8. Now, if it's at all possible, I would say to you, you know, try and download from page 8 to page 34. I would also say to you, for all your subjects, but particularly for Home Economics, as that is going to be your favourite subject and most important, and that is have what we call a master file. And in that file, you will place all of your homework, your written assignments in the appropriate sections, whether it be food studies, resource management and consumer studies, or social studies, the core. Now you can see there that I've highlighted the content expected. So just to zone in here, you can see 1.1, 1.1.1, 1.2, 1.1.3, and so on. And you will be receiving a book with all of the Home Economics notes, and any content expected, as laid down by the Department of Education, will be covered in great detail in that book that you're going to receive. Just to make life a bit easier, I just want you to be aware that this is what the Leaving Cert paper is based on. The people that make up the exam questions, they don't go and zone in on any home economics book that is out there. Their focus is going to be on the actual syllabus. So what I really like about it is the fact that as we've each chapter done, you'll notice in the book that you've received, food choices 1.1.1, these are the topics that are expected to be covered according to the Department of Education, and you can do a little tick. Say, for example, protein 1.1.3, and I've ticked here as you go through. You can tick off whether you have your sources done, whether you have each of the different properties, and it just gives that sense of confidence that everything has been covered. So that is our syllabus. Now, the Home Economics paper, or should we say the Home Economics exam, is worth, I mentioned earlier, what we refer to as 400 marks. And one thing my students regularly have joked about over the years, it's like it's engraved in their brain. It doesn't take too many mathematicians to work this one out, and that is every 4 marks is 1% of the Leaving Cert grade. This is going to be of key importance to us because one of the, I suppose, most common mistakes that students make in the exam is not writing enough detail. I don't want any student who's done this course to be coming out next June and wondering, have I written enough? Have I written too little? I'm going to show you during the year exactly how to read the questions. And so for obvious reasons, if we get a question worth 20 marks, we're thinking, well, 20 marks, that's going to be 5% of my Leaving Cert grade. So just with a little bit of cop on, we know that I need to write a substantial amount of information. So the paper is divided, or should I say the grade is divided into two parts. So those 400 marks for home economics will be divided. First of all, you have what's the written paper. This is the paper, and I'm so glad I have to say that it's the first exam every single year and is worth 320 marks. And very quickly, that works out to be 80% of our Leaving Cert grade. This is accompanied by what we refer to as the food studies assignments. Now, technically speaking, there are 4 of them, and they equate to 80 marks, making up our 400, or very simply 20% of our Leaving Cert grade. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're going to have adjustments for 2025, and the Minister for Education made a statement there in May that Leaving Cert students sitting their exam in 2025 would have the same adjustments as those in 2024. That would say that we only have to cover 2 out of 4 assignments that have been set down by the Department of Education this year. We're going to have live classes with these over the next few weeks. They will not be recorded, purely from the point of view that they are much more interactive when they're not recorded. And I know that many of you will have lots of different questions, but we're going to give you as much guidance as possible. For those of you sitting 5th year, the Leaving Cert food studies assignments have not been released just yet or just published yet, but I will be working through all 4 of those through the live classes also. You should be doing the practical work in your school, and that has to be submitted for Leaving Cert 25 students the first Monday after the Halloween break. So that's just a quick breakdown. The other thing I want to say to you with regard to how we're going to run these classes is that we are going to have obviously recorded classes, and these classes will be put up on the 360 platform, and there will be knowledge checks at the end of each chapter. Now, the recorded classes will cover the syllabus, which we have just looked at. And can I just say again, it really would be a really good idea to print pages 8 through to pages 34 and just have it in a poly pocket at the very beginning of your master file. One thing, other than I covering content, giving you advice and guidance, training you really how to answer home economics questions, knowing exactly what level of detail. One thing I really want to say is that I want you to be confident. Now, not to the point that anyone is going to be, overly confident, but you're quietly confident going into that exam that can throw anything at me, I'll be able to read it and so on. But what gives that confidence partly is knowing that as you go through each of the topics in the home economics syllabus, you're ticking each topic as you go through. I've covered that, etc. And then you know that you have everything covered that can potentially be asked. The other thing we'll be doing are the live classes each week. And this is where you can ask me any questions that have been covered on the content throughout the week. And then we will cover project work. Now, we're only covering the theory, and we will not be obviously covering the practical work on this platform, but just to know that this project work is going to be done live. It's much more effective, and you will be given notification of all of this. I would say to you at the beginning of each of the classes that ideally you have some kind of a refill pad, or what's a very good idea is I'd always ask students to have some kind of an A4 hardback copy. And what you will do is any extra diagrams, etc., that you want to draw. And I would say that I teach in a very practical way. I start at the beginning and I build things up, but I'm always writing. And I really want you to write with me. You'll be much more engaged with the class. But you know, there's always that thing of, oh, I'll put that to one side, I'll learn that diagram later. What we're going to try and do on this platform, we're going to try and learn as we go along. And you should, after each of your classes, have a good understanding of the specific area that we've covered. The other thing I would say to you as well is, other than having a refill pad and a hardback copy, that you have bought the workbook. The workbook is going to be a very important part of our live classes. I'm going to be working through all of the different questions. Now, the way I have planned the course, we have 7 to 8 weeks at the very end of our course content. And by the time we have those 8 weeks completed, we will have covered every single question in that workbook. So again, we're back to building up confidence, which can be, you know, it is a very long, very comprehensive course. And, you know, the more we can do to build that confidence, the better. So I will talk to you very soon, and we'll start our first chapter. So chat soon. Thank you.